Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Mysteries of the Maw, to our finale. Now, you may have noticed things are a bit different, as we're all together. As we are presently recording this at the time of Gen Con, so we were able and lucky enough to all get together and record in person. So thank you so much for joining us for this fantastic, spooky, scary campaign. We're excited to wrap this bad boy up. Also very sad, but so we're gonna jump into it. So last we left off, you all had engaged Grandfather after you made a harrowing escape through the Maw after basically meeting the Drowned King and making your way through the Maw out into the cold air of the Northern Lands. And that's when Grandfather attacked you all, unleashing these giant tentacles, trying to grab at you, smash at you. Some of you decided to stay in the ship. I believe that was Els and Mal. I said Mal today, not Mal's.
Last episode, finally did it.
Listen.
I know.
I need that already.
And then amongst the battle, basically the group decided to go onto the ground to engage with Grandfather, and Nikos, looking for a little extra help, decided to summon a monster. He didn't necessarily know what kind of monster he was going to summon, as he summoned his mother, who arrived and shape-shifted into this massive wolven form, and joining the fight, the rage that she saw causing the transformation upon seeing the Drowned King. So we are going to pick up right there, right where we left off. The group is engaged in the battle. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, the two of you are presently straight next to Grandfather. You two are presently right next to Grandfather.
It is Nico and Branwen are close. I got pulled away because Grandfather had basically started.
Base.
Yeah.
I remember Grandfather trying to face suck you. I flew behind you, got you off of Grandfather.
Well, Branwen went in.
Where Branwen went into, and then, we're kind of all in this amoebus area.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're going to pick up right there. We're going to start with our friends in the sky. What are the two of you getting up to up there? While you see these tentacles are flailing, trying to grab at you, there's still about 6 or 7 of these things left. You see your friends have now begun to battle with Grandfather on the ground. The Drowned King has joined the fight, and this massive werewolf has arrived through this arcane portal. So what are the two of you doing up in the sky?
To investigate a mystery, to try and see if there's an autopilot mode to help with assisting the other guns.
Well, the other gun got destroyed.
There's only 2, so there's 1 and 1, and then 1 was destroyed.
Yeah, because she
Okay.
was in it, it got yanked by the tentacle, so it's just me right
I still want to see if there's like a type of battle autopilot, because I have things on the ship I want to investigate.
Okay, roll investigate mystery.
Let's see. Sharp, right? Oh, 6 plus 2, 8.
8. So with an 8, you begin to kind of look around this console that has been, kind of damaged as you have all been flying, smashing through different parts of the Maw, things like that. The tentacles have been wrapping around the ship. You're able to kind of navigate it and find what looks like something that could be an auto-targeting system, but you're not quite sure.
Is there an evading system where it can see things in front of it and evade it, so that I don't have to be in a pilot seat?
Like an auto, just a normal autopilot.
Yes, but
Okay.
Evasive maneuver.
Evasive maneuver one. I don't want just
We're not gonna go.
there are the active things trying to knock us down. I want to be able to confidently look at other resources on the ship without it needing to be center and stagnant.
Okay. Yes, you are able to basically find a normal autopilot that's on there that will basically just drive the ship.
Okay, then I
Yes.
would like to engage that.
Okay. So the ship kind of hums a little bit as the engines now take over. The steering wheel kind of slits back into the panel as it now begins to move on its own.
Okay, so I'm going to page Miles and say,
Continue to hit the tentacles. There are things on the ship that I need to investigate. I want everyone to be safe. You.
okay, I'm going to help out.
Can I visually see them on the ground from the angle that we're at?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, because the ship is basically soaring around the battlefield, so you have like an
At
aerial
any point in
view.
time, I've got like
Yes,
some.
you have eyes because it's besides from the maw, the gaping hole in the ground. There is like basically just snow, and then your own ship that's just off to the side that grandfather was standing in front
Then
of.
at this point in time, acknowledging what Ellis has said, if Branwen and Dr.Nicolai aren't close to Grandpa, I want to take a couple pop shots at him before focusing back at the tentacles.
Okay.
Just kind of create a little bit of distance, or at least distract them enough for them to be able to get their bearings, especially with a wolf that just fucking showed up out of nowhere and I don't know what's happening. So,
True.
Roll to kick some ass.
You got this. You got this. Just take it if you want.
I saw that.
Yep. If you want.
Plus tough. But do you need experience?
I do actually.
Okay.
6.
6. So 6 unfortunately is a fail. So go ahead and mark yourself some experience for me.
Yeah, baby.
Yes.
As you turn to fire at him, and the shots kind of begin to like rake past where he is. You know, as he's been focusing on the people in front of him, he looks up, sees the ship, and you see him just kind of gesture as a tentacle comes up and slams into the ship. The ship begins to kind of go into a bit of a tailspin. What do the two of you within the ship do as the ship begins to kind of bounce around?
I don't think I've left my seat just yet. How's the autopilot?
It's attempting to basically re-engage, but the ship has just been rocked by basically a Godzilla-sized tentacle that smacked against it. So something is damaged as the ship is trying to right itself, but it's just kind of like going into a tailspin.
I am not mechanically inclined, but I think I'm gonna leave the gunner seat for a second to run to the cockpit to try to get a control of the handles and at least level us out.
Okay.
With that kind of force, I don't know what else can do with that.
I mean, if we're in a tailspin right now, I think, if anything, I'm still in the seat. Am I able to diagnose what is wrong and potentially fix it or reroute the engines?
Give me an investigate mystery, please.
That's 8 plus 2, 10.
Oh, okay. So on a 10, you hold 2. So you can ask basically what happened. You can ask me what kind of things you're looking for, or like how to fix it.
Let's see. Instead of what's being concealed here, what is showing on screen is being damaged.
So you look and you see the right side engine has basically been like it's not working. It's basically not. It's in the sense that like it's not showing up on the scanner.
Looking at the circuitry, does it look as though
It's been removed. It was basically like slammed out of it or grabbed out of it. So the right side engine of the ship is missing. So the ship is basically not able to right itself because it doesn't have an engine on either side.
How many cryogenic chambers are on board?
There was the one in the back for the ground camp.
I think I'm stumbling through the hallway trying to not get flung around. Els, what do we got going on?
The right wing has been damaged.
And let's see. I think at this point, hold 2. The next one I want to ask is, how can I land this safely?
So you could attempt to kind of reorient basically the power of the ship to try to basically make it so that that left engine is basically the only.
I could actually siphon energy from the left to right.
To try to right the
even
ship.
out.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do that and use the controls to try to make the ship like less powered so that it levels out and then just kind of starts going towards the ground. But I'm not going to head towards the tentacles. Tentacles are like around the fight scene, or is it like? Yeah. Okay.
So the way the tentacles are oriented is they basically like so there's the maw in the dead center, and the tentacles have come up essentially around it, almost like teeth.
Okay.
Around the edge.
Like a maw.
Okay. I would like to land the ship as close to my companions as possible, but as far away from a large tentacle because I don't want it to get smashed.
Got it. Okay. So while you're landing the ship, we're gonna jump to our friends on the ground.
Okay.
We're gonna jump to our friends on the ground. So the group of you are all basically around Grandfather. The Drowned King is making his way in. This woven form has now begun to bound towards Grandfather. What are the three of you doing?
I don't know if it's applicable at all because of the situation is kind of a continuation-ish in a way, but it is a seeing my mother appear and become the bestial badass that she is. I just kind of just focus on her for a second, and I think just for a moment, the world is going to fall away. Attempting to do a premonition, attempting to look into to see just how to engage with not only grandfather but potentially the drowned king, just the issue, the situation as a whole. There's a lot going on.
Right.
A lot right on this.
Roll for it.
All right, so I get to roll vid for my premonitions. Oh, okay. That's a 6.
Level 2.
No, your eyes glass over like they normally do. And you begin to look for answers to this wildly impossible scenario that you have all found yourself. And you see the edge of the maw, you see the tentacles writhing around, reaching out. And what you see within your vision, as your eyes begin to pan kind of down into the maw, almost like you have an aerial view, you see the walls of the maw are moving. As you begin to try to focus on it and get a little bit closer, you see the walls are covered with drowned as they're pulling themselves up and out of the hole, trying to begin and basically come out of the maw. And you begin to kind of watch as they crest, as just an ocean of these things are beginning to get out. And you snap back.
There's a big problem. We need to deal with this now. Was that a fail? Did I experience?
Yeah.
I did. It's not.
Take the experience.
All right, I've leveled up.
Take the
Now my weird is 3.
Ooh.
Whack it again. Yeah. So I get that. I'm just kind of recoiling from that. Just looking up to see what's going on.
Sydney and
I think I'm at 2. I'm at 2.
If the drowned king is handling grandfather, at this point, I'd like to try to heal Kreg.
Okay.
I'm gonna try.
I'm gonna try. Okay.
Just like take a moment before like running off.
I'm gonna say as you're approaching,
How does he look?
Bad.
he looks very bad.
Just give us a physical
So Kreg right now, his hair is very much just kind of covering his face as he's on all fours down in the snow, just palms out on top of.
Spaghetti.
Yeah, he's being palm spaghetti.
I don't know if that's the lyric.
It is now.
It's the copyright-free one. But there is a lot of just. I think I can't remember what color I said his blood was. I think it was white. I think I remember the blood being weird or something.
That was weird.
It was weird.
You described it as almost like dissipating, as though it was like an ethereal black. I
Oh,
think.
that's right,
And
that's right, that's
And I
right.
told you bled weird.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. So there's that is happening. A lot of smoke, a lot of that weird stinky smokeness is coming off of him. But he is also, there is actual now like liquid blood that is white, just streaming from like the corners of his mouth, and from various parts of him. Suit's torn, jacket's basically come off entirely from the grandfather's attack.
Fair.
And I'm just gonna look up at you.
Don't worry. Focus on him. I'll be fine.
Branwen in her gigantic monstrous form, with her claws extended, her teeth overbearing her lips, her entire body just like pulsing from the muscly sinew that is enveloping her right now. She walks up to you, she picks you up by your shirt, and she says, "I don't care. And you're gonna be healed, I hope. Let's find out.
Let's see.
Plus what? Plus weird? Is it plus weird?
I believe we did plus mundane for the heal.
So that's
Mundane.
Plus,
so if you're,
My bad.
Plus sharp, plus charm, plus
But-
cool.
I think
Recovery?
it's sharp.
it's usually cool.
Yeah, it's cool.
It's cool.
It's cool. It's been a while, gang.
It has. Does it have to be cool?
Yeah, it's cool.
Cool. That's. I'll use my luck.
Yeah.
I have the most out of the party.
Fair.
Also,
Okay, so how do you heal our dear friend, Kreg?
Alright, as she's holding him up by the scruff of his shirt, she's going to take one of her, like, palms, and she's just going to basically, like, go. Like, you know, like a defibrillator. Like,
What was that sound again?
go.
historically, doesn't sound like me.
Yeah, and just, like, pound on your chest, and you're gonna, like, feel this, like, this magical, interesting energy that has a little bit of blackness from it because of our connection to the infection. But you're gonna feel that, like, that pulse, like, come in and out of you, and suddenly your heart starts beating a little bit faster, and blood starts pumping through your veins again, and you might start bleeding out a little bit more, and your blood might start dissipating more. But overall, you feel at least you're a little bit better.
So how many hurt am I healed?
It's a complete success, so I would say you would receive, let's say, 2 harm back.
Do our other things, it's only 1.
You would receive 1 harm.
Boy.
What the
One.
fuck is happening?
Okay.
You receive 1 health back.
What is happening? What is happening? You
So-
and your olive green fingernails. What is happening?
Medic.
As you get healed, Branwen, I need you to roll me 2d6 again plus cool.
It's -1.
A worm? A worm? What is this?
No. It's gonna be complete success. No. Okay.
But that's a -1.
8.
So 8.
8. So as you go boom, boom, and you heal him, and you see like he begins to bleed more, you feel just your mouth salivate just a bit,
Oh no.
just a bit. And you just, and my dear friend Nicolai, you just feel your mouth just salivate just a little bit as you both just feel hungry. You're not gonna act on it. You're not gonna attack him, but just the sight of his blood just makes your stomach rumble just a bit.
So you're saying I'm a snack?
Oh, you're a whole ass.
I'm gonna say you might be a whole ass meal here in a minute.
That Kreg is that is a buffet. Right
Yeah.
And we're gonna jump over to Nicolai.
And as I'm just kind of getting off the ground, just seeing that kind of. That was that. I'm gonna look up and see Madre. What is she doing right now?
Presently, your mother is basically locked, like, as grandfather has basically caught her advance as she bounded towards him and jumped at him. He's caught her advance, and he's attempting to kind of hold his ground as she's trying to bear down on top of him. Basically, kind of like her front paws are locked in his hands, and she's just basically forcing him to his knees at the present moment in time as the Drowned King is making his way up behind him.
And what does the Drowned King do?
The Drowned King looks cool, calm, and collected as he's just slowly making his way to grandfather.
That's my other question. Is he making this? Can I tell if he's making his way to grandfather, or is he finding an opportunity now? Both people are there.
Go ahead and make me.
Investigate
Yeah,
mystery?
let's do an investigative mystery.
Sure, not the best thing for me, but not the worst thing for me.
Read a bad situation. Right.
Yeah, we did a bad situation.
Yeah, that's
Oh yeah.
That's
It's still
situation.
sharp. Thank you. I didn't get a 4 for my premonition. Tartar sauce, it's fine. Ooh,
No. Oh no.
that's a 5.
It's a 5. So go ahead and mark experience.
Oh my god.
I think you're still a little bit. I don't know if it's starstruck, but just shocked at seeing your mother like this. Seeing your mother violently transform into this beast. You never in your entire life.
I knew it.
He didn't know. He's never seen it. And so seeing this, this monstrosity in front of you that used to be your mother, it's just kind of your analytic brain is just kind of struggling with your emotional brain at the present moment in time.
Yeah, very much.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
And at this moment is when the ship begins to come down, and to maintain control of it and have a nice calm landing, I need 2d6 plus.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Yeah.
What I'm assuming reading that moment was my definitive action in that moment?
Yes.
Okay, that's fine.
Yes. Between the premonition and that, yeah.
Yeah, fair.
Oh no. It's a critical fail. Okay.
Would you like to burn a luck point?
Duh.
No, I have a good amount. I have a good
Yeah,
amount.
but I feel like we're gonna start using them towards the end. Is it? Oh, but this is also.
No, this is the ship. I don't want it. I don't
You're
want
right.
it harmed. No.
You're right. You're right.
Luck point.
You're gonna
Please.
burn a luck point.
Yeah.
So you feel like the ship kind of the engine goes out for a
Fine.
moment,
Yeah.
but you're able to very quickly switch cables around, hit buttons, pull levers, and the engine roars back to life, and you're able to kind of just gently bring it down
Now, hold on tight.
as you kind of into the snow and just rock a little bit, but you just slide through the snow safely, though. You can see as you look at the ship readouts, it wasn't the prettiest landing. It wasn't the prettiest princess at the party, but like you landed safely. As the ship will be able to fly probably again, hopefully.
Okay.
Hopefully, but you have now landed. You see now that you're closer, you see this giant wolf looming over Grandfather as the two of them are just kind of swinging at each other, throwing attacks at each other. The Drowned King is just about to them, and you see your friends just kind of scattered about.
With my many years stuck in the tech lab and reading books, do I recognize this form and know who it is?
The wolf.
Yes, but the wolf sounds as though it's a fighting stance and mechanic that maybe the public doesn't know about our angel and like the
So-
people.
The myth of the fallen angel and the wolf.
Yes.
It's basically
common
it's
Right.
basically it's the boogeyman.
Like an urban legend.
Yeah, it's an urban legend. It is a myth that fell into. It was a premonition that was given to the Six hundreds of years ago, and it kind of just fell into legend, or it fell into kind of just
Obscurity.
history, right?
Yeah.
That it was like it's just like I said, the boogeyman. You know, it's something that we've all know
The
about.
fable.
Yeah, it's a fable at this point. And when you see this, and with what you've learned in the last 20 minutes, truly, last hour,
Mhm.
you feel your blood kind of go cold a little bit at witnessing this thing that literally the people who saved this planet were warned about hundreds of years ago.
Mouse, are you good?
I think he's next to you, actually.
Oh,
I'm over.
I'm fine.
We need to make it out to them. Kreg does not look good.
He's looking rough. Tried to take some shots. I missed. We're fine.
I just realized that was the first time that Elle's ever called him Kreg. She calls you Money Man. Continue.
Oh, he's definitely not making it. Oh man.
So the two of you are in the ship. Yes?
Metagaming. Metagaming.
Fine.
I promise I'm not trying. I'm not trying.
I'm gonna grab bat, pistol, and you're small. Else, hop on.
Elle's actually holds up a hand and says,
I am better used here. We need an escape.
If the tentacles come down on you,
Need to protect myself. I may be small, but I am mighty.
Yeah, you are.
And just as a blanket reminder for you guys, your ship you came here on is still there in the snow as well. You don't know the condition of it, but the big ship you came on is still basically off to the side. That's where Grandfather was standing in front of while you were all trying to race back. Just so you have that knowledge. Your ship is still there.
there's a backup door back.
You haven't heard from the captain, you haven't heard from the crew, but the ship is there.
I just want to make one more investigation before I leave.
Sure, absolutely.
I want to look at the cryogenic chamber to see if I know how to work it.
Okay. Yeah, roll me investigate mystery.
They're not lying. Okay, plus sharp. Okay, okay, 5 to 7 plus sharp, 9.
Good.
It's fairly easy to understand how
Okay.
this house thing. There you can see where the power comes in. You can see where the switch that is connected to said power is.
Great.
And basically,
So
you
there's
see
just an
there is like a vital screen. You know what I mean? So there
Yeah.
is. It's fairly easy to understand.
Okay, then I'm going to quickly shut the put it in standby mode so it's still powered on and can potentially still operate, and then I will hop on your back and charge
My
forward.
back.
Okay.
Thank you.
Now, in this moment, Jackie, would you mind stepping out of the room with me for a second?
Oh no.
What?
Dear.
What?
Why do you
What?
do this?
What?
Every time.
What?
I saw you whispering.
What?
I saw you.
It's so much easier when all we have to do is take our headphones off.
I know.
What?
It's not crying. It's a matter.
Yeah.
I don't know. This might be worse.
Okay. So the two of you are leaving the ship, correct?
Yep.
All right. Excellent.
Yes.
And where are you going?
I'm going to charge. Jesus Christ. I hate everything about this.
What?
The weight of consequences. I'm going to run towards the prey. Kind of aim towards the center if she wants to hop off and head in any direction. But I want.
You're heading towards grandfather and the wolf and the drowned king, correct? Okay. Are you staying on his back while he runs over there?
You can nudge me in any direction at this point in time since we haven't not committed, but that's where I'm leading.
I think at this point, Els is going to I feel like your jacket has like little straps. She's gonna strap her feet into your shoulders and have her fire flamethrower on top and just
You got this Mad Max.
Oh yeah. Hell yeah, you do. Okay. Okay. So, as the two of you have made your Megazord, running towards the prey, you see grandfather basically makes a gesture, and you see a tentacle kind of wrap around Monroe and toss her to the side as you see she kind of go rolling through the snow. And so he's presently open at the moment. The Drowned King is just about there. The Drowned King has been taking his sweet time. He's on a stroll, the way he's acting. You guys are probably going to get there closer than get there sooner than he will. So upon arriving, you see grandfather whips around to look at you. What do you do?
I would like to use. Oh, actually, you go first.
So you got feet on my shoulders?
Basically, yeah. So you should have your arms free, but she's basically standing on top of you and just
I love that.
yeah. Those words.
I dead stop as safely as I can, carry a full Els. Els, I think this is your stop. Go help everybody else. Please down. Branwen is Branwen. And Dr.Nicolai is Wolf. I don't know what's going on. I want grandpa. Drowned King's headed there. Can buy some time.
There are no sacrifices.
Nobody's sacrificing anything. But I don't know if I can protect you as well as Branwen.
But what if I'm trying to protect you?
We can all protect each other.
Then I say,
I'm going to start prepping.
I need the two of you to roll me kick some ass. You guys are going to roll.
Okay, I would like to use my precise strike.
Mm-hmm.
Change for a weak spot.
I like to think of she hop on my shoulders. I did that sound with my arm.
That's a 9, but what is
Kick some ass?
Plus tough.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a 10 for me.
9.
Okay. So, total of a 19, yes?
Can I use...
Let's see.
What do you mean? What's wrong?
I want to use what could go wrong.
What was that?
I want to use what could go wrong. Whenever you charge into immediate danger, hold 2. You may spend your hold 2 to either inflict 1 harm, reduce someone else's harm that they suffer by 1, or take 2 forward on an act under pressure roll.
Okay, what would you like to do?
I'm going to hold. I can hold them. I don't have to spend them right now.
Okay.
But I'm going to hold those 2 because eventually I'm sure I'm going to reduce somebody's harm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. So describe to me what the two of you do upon reaching grandfather as he turns, whips around to face you. His tentacles basically an extra row of 3 on either side shoot out at you. What do you do?
I think what I'm going to do is, as we're charging forward, I'm going to try and blind grandfather in the face with a flamethrower so that he's unable to see where Mal is going. And that is 4 harm, by the way.
Okay, 4 harm. Excellent.
Nice.
Dang. Yeah, the flames roll over his face, and you see the tentacles that he was shooting at you just kind of scatter away. So he's basically wide open as you're running straight into it.
I would just wide swing with the bat. Just
Okay.
shot.
How much harm do you do?
Actually, you know what? I do want to take a knee out, bring him down.
Okay.
Because if that wolf bears down on him, he's at least halfway there.
Okay.
Sweet. Just damage?
Yeah, what's the damage?
Yeah.
3, and it's magical, so it cuts through resistance.
Yeah, so
Yes.
between the flames opening it up completely, you slam this bat into his knee, and you see he drops to one knee. So he's presently at basically like a little bit of a disadvantage as these flames are roaring across his face, and he's trying to kind of bat them away. As you see, his healing isn't doing as much as it normally would, as that you have learned in your travels here. Fire and the infected don't mix. So while the two of you are doing that, my other friends, let's go to the three of you. What are you getting up to?
So now that I've done a little bit of healing on Kreg, how many tentacles are left?
How many tentacles? There's about 6 of these giant tentacles still.
But grandfather controls all the things.
Correct.
Okay, so we need to turn all of our focus on the grandfather at this point. Okay, in that case, Branwen is gonna take off to the sky again.
Okay.
Gonna do a gigantic leap, and then just her massive wings expand, and she just soars over to grandfather. And she's going to try, because he's down. She's gonna pick him up.
You gonna try to pick him up?
Pick him up.
And in your mind,
In your
because
mind.
we can speak to telepathically.
No.
No. He just tossed my mom. Kreg looks okay. He's still looking at Kreg, but in your mind, you can see he's analytically looking at grandfather, getting a weird idea. You get to hear, make an opening.
Ooh. Okay. Getting that message. She's going to fly down and descend onto him.
Okay.
And grab his head
Okay.
and yank it back.
Okay. Roll to kick some ass.
Woo! Yeah, you will. Show me potato salad.
Potato salad. Come on, potato salad.
Come on,
Potato
let's go.
salad.
No reasons.
Oh, yes, yes, 10.
10.
Well,
Wait.
that's at 3.
Oh,
So 7 plus 10.
Plus
Wait.
Wait.
Wait, isn't that? Oh, that's a
That's a-
4.
It's a 4.
Oh,
You and I both
It's a
laughed.
D6. It's a D6.
that's right. Oh my god. Hilarious.
That's fine.
I thought it was a runic 7.
So plus tough, that's plus 2. So 9.
So 9.
9.
So on a 9, on kick some ass. So you're gonna inflict harm, right? So how much harm do you do?
Let's see. My base claws are 2, plus
Okay.
I have a additional to that, so it's 3.
3 damage. Okay, total. You will take some harm in return, as basically you wrench his head backwards. You going backwards, or you going wrenching it forwards? You're wrenching his head backwards. You see basically out of where are you grabbing on his head?
Does he have hair?
He's got basically imagine Davy Jones has the tentacles for hair and beard.
Like Ivan Ooze.
Yeah, very Ivan Ooze. Yeah, Ivan Ooze, Davy Jones look.
I'm gonna go for
The scalp
Eyes.
from
Oh, sockets.
eyes backwards. So you see his jaw unhinges down, and you see basically very, very xenomorph style, another almost mauled little
Alien.
mouth comes out and grabs into your leg, and you're gonna take 2 harm.
Can I use one of my forwards and reduce that by 2?
Yeah, absolutely. How would you stop this? As you see this other mouth coming out of his, going for Branwen.
With the bat, as it's trying to latch onto her, I'll spike it with my bat and try to hold it back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Slap into it, and this tongue-like mouth is now being pulled and stuck around your bat as it's kind of beginning to wrap its way around. As you're pulling his head back, you're blowing fire into his face. He dropped onto one knee. What are you doing?
As she gets to him and begins to be the badass that she is, I look over at Kreg just to study him for a moment, because I know you're almost as analytical as me, but you're analyzing scares me. So he just watches for a moment. He says to Kreg, "I don't know what your plan is. I don't know what you can do, but do it safely." And my fractal wings, beat once, fly up, go directly beeline. I stop to see if my mom's okay, just for a moment.
You see
Slow down, Liz.
basically your mom, as she kind of gets to her, kind of tries to get to her feet, you see wherever that tentacle grabbed, it must have broken the leg. As you see, she's now basically going back on 3 legs.
Oh, okay.
And give me a read a bad situation really quickly.
You didn't,
You're in a bad situation.
You
You're in
did.
a bad situation.
You.
No.
Hey, the XP point. 4.
Would you like to roll my dice?
I'm not gonna give you too much, but I'll give you something. So market experience. You see, like basically, I'm gonna come over here so you can see me in the camera. I'm in a different camera. You see, as the Drowned King was just kind of walking, he stops
No.
and he sees your mother
No.
and begins to walk.
Oh.
But he's walking. He's doing this cool, calm, collected walk. So
Yes.
I don't think it's gonna be fast, unless he's sped up pace.
Is he closer to one of the?
He. What's the best way to describe this?
It's close to Branwen.
Do you the walk that you do when you're going to your favorite restaurant, where you're just
I'm running.
walking at a leisurely but excited pace?
Which means he sped up a little bit.
Yes.
No.
Blood in the water.
I had a really good idea.
Hey, do I feel this concern you have for your mom?
Yes.
Ooh, okay. You do the thing.
Feel concern for mom.
Okay.
You also get that it's like when an experiment is about to go wrong, and you're trying to do everything to prevent it from going wrong. It's an agitation that stress level or stress to the max.
So I have a suggestion. Do your thing, and then if I can go after you.
Okay.
If I can't, who knows?
As I was starting to fly up, and I meant to say I'm sorry, as I started to fly up, okay, stuff shattered and things broke. I'm sure there's like pieces of glass that are around. I'm
Yeah.
gonna pick up a piece of glass. Actually, no, I'm gonna flavor it. As I'm coming, one of my fractal wings is gonna clip off, and I'm gonna turn that into glass. And as I get to Branwen, and I still notice that, see me kind of slow down just a moment, I get to grandfather. I'm going to take that glass into my left hand and dig it into my right. And as I do, you're going to see just raw essence start to form. I'm going to hex, and where she hurt him, I'm going to place my hand against it
Okay.
to make him contract a disease, which is the infection within us, which they've been repelling this entire time.
Yes,
I
your infection
wonder
wants to attack the original.
How they respond to it.
Go ahead and roll me.
That's a venom already shit.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's the first time I've actually used that aspect of hex, and I was like, I would say that's a disease.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Please, come on.
Luck point.
Okay. How many luck you got left?
2.
2.
Come on.
Okay.
Can I give you maybe this one?
They were rolling fine earlier.
You slam your hand into this, and the sensation that you feel infecting someone for the first time is enthralling
Oh,
and exciting and satisfying. The endorphins that release and the hunger satiated within you, passing on part of yourself into this other being. As you slam your hand into his chest, you see immediately like the sinewy muscle that he's made out of, like all of the black ooze and tentacles, but just it looks like it's trying to get away from where your hand is. You see his body is beginning to convulse and move as he's actively like, in the moment he is now, what's the best way to put it? He is out of the fight for the moment. As you see, he is just like screaming and convulsing as his body is reacting to this new infection.
And just as some flavor, as my hand goes against him, you see that fractal essence, that raw power, to start to envelop him, almost like what's the word I'm looking for? Like a fishnet type of vibe, almost like kind of constricting him, so he can't get away from it. He's gonna be stuck with this, and he's almost salivating. You know our power wants to consume. And you just gave me a buffet.
And you feel the same things from him at the same time. And as he's convulsing, you begin to see this bulge that starts in his stomach, and you see it begins to kind of push up as his body like almost expands larger than it was. As you see, it begins to kind of bulge, and it moves up into his chest and into his throat. And as he unhinges his jaw, you see this kind of black ink sac rolls, like this black sack rolls out of his mouth onto the ground and is beginning to kind of move on its own as well. As you see, like, it looks like something's beginning to push its way through this kind of
Oh my god.
oozy
Oh my
sack
God.
that is around it.
Oh my god.
And just to know, he also takes 1 heart.
Yes, thank you,
Because
thank you,
I've always been a
thank you,
kid
thank you,
of my
thank you,
magic.
thank you.
Yeah, and seeing that convulsing, I am just going to just turn and go directly towards mom.
So, yes, what do you got?
So I think Kreg has just been, after being dropped by Branwen very unceremoniously, just back down. Not only feeling slightly better, Kreg is going to look and see what's going on.
Mhm.
And as soon as that ink sac, there's this moment as he sees what you've just done, and now it does these mental gymnastics in his head, and he decides he's gonna go after that ink sac as just, once again, almost enveloping the snow that's falling and that's on the ground around him. He just becomes the blizzard that suddenly just appears on top of this ink sac, and he is just going to take his whip that, supposed to work just as well as fire, because I have, smite, where weak monsters are always weak to all of my attacks.
Right.
And I'm just going to try and take my razor whip and just slash through this sucker.
Roll to kick some ass.
Come on. Oh.
That is going to be so good, because that is going to be... That's 9. That's going to be 11.
11.
Nice.
So on an 11, you get to choose one extra effect. You gain advantage, so you can take one forward, or you can give one forward. You can inflict terrible harm, suffer less harm, or force them where you want them.
I'm going to inflict terrible harm.
Okay.
I want this thing dead, as Branwen, you can now see, since Nico's left, well, all of you can see, Craig's face is now like almost being entirely consumed by this black smoke that has been that tattoo that's been working its way. And his eyes now, the pupils are these just iridescent snowflakes that seem to glow. And like the white spreads across his eyes underneath this black tattoo thing, as there is just a whole lot of radiant energy and power that just slashes straight through this.
So you slash through this, and it rips open the sack on the ground. And you see black ichor just kind of spray across the white snow. And you see from this sack, you see basically someone holding their chest, as you see a familiar form within this sack that looks very familiar to our good friend Mal.
Oh my god! Okay.
As you see him look down at his chest, where there's this kind of this almost a radiant burning mark across his chest, and he goes, "Well, that wasn't very nice."
Wait.
As you see, as he begins to right himself and stand up, you see from basically the elbow down is not a human arm. It's made up of the black ichor. The black ichor and the sinuous muscle. You see from the other elbow the same thing. And basically you can see bits and pieces of him. Like he was maybe in the midst of a transformation as he stands up. And you see he's still got the radiant scar across his chest. And he goes, "Hey bro, how you doing?" You really let him eat me, huh?
Ben, you died.
Because you let me.
Yeah, and I get to live with that for the rest of my life. Whatever you are now, you took everything from me. Even with nothing.
All right. So as you say that to him, and this being has stood up, he seems to not even acknowledge you, Kreg. as he has his eyes on his brother, and you see from the elbow, the arm just extends out, and it's kind of clawed form, and you're going to take 2 harm.
I will not.
You will not.
I've taken the Berserker.
What does it mean?
What did that
What does
mean?
it mean?
That's a good one. I believe that's the
The
same one.
Berserker is from the Wronged playbook.
Oh.
They took my loved ones, and I will let them know my age. Berserker, no matter how much harm you take, you can always keep going until the current fight is over. During a fight, the keeper may not use harm moves on you, and you cannot die. When the fight ends, all the harm takes effect.
Got it. Yes, different from yours. As you feel these claws dig into your shoulder, the righteous fury that you feel to take vengeance on this thing for taking your family, it's almost numbing in your shoulder. You feel nothing.
And when it impacts, I feel the numb pain and the dulling sensation of the tentacle, and I just kind of grab it and squeeze. And like, Ben was always the better part of me. Ben was a bendición, a blessing. I've always been an addiction in the lives of those around me, and you are the essence of my need today. And I started pulling him.
Okay. Hell yeah. Yeah. Hell yeah. Oh, hold on.
Sorry, stop it.
So as you're pulling your former brother towards you, we're gonna pan just very quickly over to the other side of the fight. As you see the Drowned King, you see him basically extend his hand, and from basically like the palm, you see this large object begins to push its way through his skin. As you see this almost red fleshy spear pulls its way, he pulls a spear out of his forearm and pulls it out as he begins to walk towards your mother. And your mother has now righted herself as well, and it looks like the two of them are about to clash.
Absolutely not.
Being that, which has been a worry he's had this entire time, knowing who the Drowned King is, and various dealings between him and my parental figures. And while I am analytic, and I don't let emotion take hold, at the end of the day, I am the son of Valerian and Monroe Rezano. There's no way in hell I'm going to let an after image of a dead king attempt to kill my mother. And now I'm and you don't feel rage. It's not rage, it's focus. You can tell that he's not thinking about anything else right now. He's not thinking about Craig's health. He's not looking at what's happening with grandfather. Not that he doesn't care. He's not thinking about what else is doing right now. He's just, his mother's in danger by the one person who might actually be able to kill her. I won't be able to get to them before he gets to her, but what I can do is almost like shoot up like a rocket. My wings almost having this celestial, iridescent afterglow for a moment. My voice begins to boom. Stay away from my mother! I come straight down, punch the ground. There is an after effect. There is a sonic boom as the ground itself begins to ripple and twist, the fractaling images, turning all magic into whatever I need. It rushes towards the Drowned King and begins to crackle up on him as I attempt to trap him.
Go ahead and roll.
Come on, dice, please. You got this.
You should roll
Good
someone
stuff.
else's die.
Sir,
These are beautiful.
may I offer
But they
you
are
some dice in a trying
offer
time.
you another.
What did you roll?
Can I give a reroll?
Let's just assume it was a 10 plus. It's fine.
What was the roll?
15.
Well,
It was a natural 20.
Wrong guy. Wrong guy.
uh-huh.
It was a 6.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I do the help action?
Because you're currently basically they're on a separate part of the battlefield right now.
I was,
Yeah, it wouldn't make sense for you to be able to because you just slashed open the ink
yeah.
sac, and you're watching this fake brother attack.
I'm concentrating on the ground.
And quick question for you: upon doing this, does your concentration break then on the trap, the fishing net that you left the grandfather in?
Oh no.
Are you able to
Well,
do
I
that?
will say that there's not necessarily a mechanical thing with the fishing fish net.
Right.
More just a flavor thing.
Okay.
He's gonna have that disease that I
Yeah, he's
gave
still.
him.
Yeah, he's still.
That was more just like so he can't get away from it. And
Got it.
can't break out of it.
Got
But it's your game.
Okay.
It can be weakened now because it's definitely focused.
Mhm.
And I can see like a shattered glass piece of that magic starting to come off of the drowned king's legs, knowing that it's not taking hold because maybe I'm not good enough.
So, are you going to keep the failure, or are you going to burn another luck?
The truth of the matter is, if it was my father, I would be less worried. Even if I were to fail, I'd be fine. And my mother's strong. But in this stage, I can't risk it.
You're going to burn a luck? How many luck do you have left? One.
Hey, welcome to the club.
Hey! And I let out this primal scream, and it's almost glitchy. It's like when you turn on TV and it's just static everywhere. The snow around starts to rumble and shift. I even think patches of it shift from snow to fog to mist back to snow. It doesn't know what it needs to constitute itself as magic is just running rampant. And he lets out that scream, and one last rush of his power goes up and just completely goes over the Drunk King.
Okay. So yeah, this shield.
But
Yes.
I'm going to and myself, my wings drop.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
4 legs feels good upon making contact with the ground. Just being on all fours for a second just feels right.
I'm standing on all fours.
As you collide with the ground and this cage comes up around the drowned king, you see he turns his attention to you. And I need you to roll me 2d6 plus. Cool.
Any
Here's the thing, I want to, but I can't.
You know,
It's not a bit. It's like this is where the power is, even if it's failing.
Yeah.
It's
Dice
failing
tell
with
the
the
story.
story.
It's fine. Let's go. Okay.
You said what? Cool. Can
Beast Riders.
I get to mark another experience?
No. You're gonna mark 2 harm.
Yeah. I'll mark 1 harm.
You'll mark 1 harm, as will Sydney. As you see him turn his eyes towards you, and it feels like his eyes are all you can see. As you feel this intense pressure push into your mind and wrench at it and tear away some of the very little, honestly, foundations of your mind that were really left after this, as he begins to press into your mind, and you can feel blood run from your nose as you take the 1 harm, and Sydney, you will take the 1 harm.
We both bleeding?
Yes.
Oh shit.
Yes. And we're going to now hop back over to the grandfather team. As you see, grandfather is wrenching and writhing on the ground as this infection is flowing its way through his veins, and he just turns his jaw to the sky, and he just screams as loud as he possibly can, and feel silence for a moment. As like this chaotic fight that was happening, you see the tentacles just kind of go idle. And you just hear the wind over this icy wasteland. Thank you. And then you hear, the best way to describe it is just this constant loud undulating noise. It's just like noise. As you see the tentacles then turn downwards and slam into the snow. And opposed to basically like they were kind of flailing about, you see they turn, slam into the snow, and you see them begin to kind of, looks like they're tensing a little bit, and you feel the ground begin to rumble and shake. As you see the snow and the ground around the maw begins to push away from where it was, as you see the maw itself seems to be pulling itself upwards and out. And you begin to see all these smaller figures pulling themselves up and out of the maw as well. Yes, Kreg.
Can I talk to you privately?
Absolutely. We're going in the other room, gang. Correct. So you see this massive, basically the maw is pulling itself up and out of the ground. What do you all do?
Kreg is now upright, still bleeding, still hurt. A lot of that inky smokeness is coming out, and Branwen.
No, don't do no. Oh, no.
Forgive me, you know what? Tell me what you will soon know. Well, I'm honest with you. Really?
Sorry.
Continue.
Yeah, do.
Well, this is who I am. And I'm going to very quickly rush by you and just put a hand to your chest as just kind of a calming moment. And then I immediately disappear and you just feel this slight cold. And I reappear in front of the maw. And my form entirely shifts. I grow to be even taller. My suit suddenly goes from this black to this incredible ethereal white, almost as though the snow itself is contracting to me. You feel the wind and just what feels like winter. You get the sense of the season itself almost seems to wrap up over really all of you. And still bleeding profusely, and even more now so, this inky blackness has completely just spread over in branches and covering my entire face, starting to go into the white hair, but everything else is just this stark white as I'm wreathed in the snow, the blizzard itself. And I just put my hands out as I control the element of winter and snow and ice to keep the maw from pulling its way out. As I think you two would know, Kreg is literally the god of winter.
What would your name be?
Elsa.
You, funnily enough, it is Kreg, the original name, but I just always went by Kreg, and as you know, no one ever thinks, oh, the god of winter, yeah, you're,
Kreg.
yeah, dressed in all black now.
Yeah,
No
one
one
of the things
ever-
my cousin Jesus is, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of those, like, the most
What the
obvious solutions,
heck?
the one that's right in
You
front of your
did
face.
introduce yourself as Kreg. I can't say that.
Yeah, Kreg.
You did introduce yourself as that.
Yeah, nice.
It can always be like a tribute
So-
to a god. You know?
That's true.
As you extend your hands, willing winter forward, and taking the divinity back that you have not held since you got stuck here during the drowning. And you gesture your hands forward, and you feel the full-fledged power return to you, however fleeting it may be. And you extend it forward, and describe to me how you use your abilities to stop the tentacles.
It's basically suddenly summer around y'all, as all the cold and snow just immediately pulls from the ground in the air, and you're now on hard, barren ground. And it just is, all of this is pushing the maw down. I'm not able to prevent the individual creatures coming out, but the maw itself is being pushed back down as Kreg fights against the tentacles that are literally trying to bring the maw itself up and out of the ground.
And as this winter wraps around the tentacles, you see the tentacles begin to kind of like basically freeze in place as absolute zero is introduced to them. As you push upon this giant monstrosity of this monster castle that was attempting to pull itself out of the ground, you see the tentacles begin to kind of shatter and break as you see the maw kind of almost, in a way, you know, it's like a tube, just kind of slam back down one side. The other tentacles trying to compensate, but they also get frozen in place. You see some of the things that were crawling out begin to like kind of fall backwards. There's not as many coming out anymore. As you see it's a very strange visage of this frozen maw over in front of you. There's basically all of winter around you has been pushed to this one particular spot. And Branwen, you turn back and you see Kreg standing there like this, and just slowly turn into snowflakes on your fingertips. As Kreg, you know you were on borrowed time ever since you got stuck here. And to save these people and possibly the world, you have spent your time. And from
As I'm turning into dust, I walk over to you, Branwen, and there's just a slight cold touch that just whips at all of your faces while you're a little far away, but you feel a support from your back.
I feel it mostly deeper.
Probably, yeah.
Continue.
You'll probably feel a bit more here in a second. But Branwen, I'll walk right up to you.
You're gonna be great. Get everyone out. You are strong enough. You are great enough. I could see this from the very beginning. I'm sorry, I could not be there with you longer.
And the one hand that hasn't quite turned to dust is going to grab the back of your head, and I'm going to bring my forehead to yours. And even in your bestial nature, I'm going to plant a kiss on your lips.
This shock kind of shoots through her entire body as your cold kind of envelops her, but it's not freezing cold. It's a comforting cold. It is a cold that leaves you feeling refreshed. But Nico, you will feel this just rush of loss after immediate joy. And as you stay there close to her, she's going to take her claws and she's going to hold you close until you disappear. If you do.
It doesn't take long, and suddenly sparkling snowflakes settle all over you and Kreg's dog.
Branwen all of a sudden gets very small. Her form shrinks back down to her normal size, and she's not angry anymore. She's just numb. And as this numbness kind of washes over her, she turns her attention to everybody else. All the chaos that is happening, all the things that are trying to break out of the maw, Nico with his mother and the drowned king. And she just cries. And she walks over to Grandpa, who's struggling, and she rips out his throat.
Roll to kick some ass.
Ah! Oh, that's good. Okay. 7 on there.
7. But you know what? I'd like to use a luck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Technically it's 9,
But
but I'd like to
Yeah.
use a luck.
And then you also have like extra moves for more damage too if you want.
And then that.
Plus.
All of it. Damage.
How do you kill grandfather?
So as these like tears start crawling down her face, and you've never seen Branwen like this before, obviously, because she only cries when things get really bad. She was the kid who would silently cry in the corner, so she wasn't bothering anybody when she was growing up. So the fact that these tears are pouring down her face and her form is small and not weak, because I don't think she could ever be perceived as physically weak, but quiet and broken. And as she walks over to Grandpa, who is struggling so much to be broken out of this thing, and Mal's facing his brother, she just takes her claws, looks emptily into Grandfather's eyes, and just slowly tears at his neck flesh until his voice box is completely ripped out. And she just stares at him and drops it on the bedrock ground.
And you see him like he attempts to protest, but as the infection has made its way through his body, it's almost like a vaccine was introduced to a virus, as he is unable to fight back and just watches helplessly as you tear this part of him away, and you see the red glow from his eyes just kind of fade, and like the big muscular form that he was boasting shrinks as you see like the sinew and the muscle kind of almost begin to hang, and he shrinks and gets smaller as you see this haggard former man covered in this black goop, and then just and collapse to the ground as grandfather has been slain. We're going to now deal with Mal and your brother. You and your brother have begun to fight back and forth. He's throwing tentacles at you. He's like, his form keeps changing, slipping and moving around you. What are you doing?
Mal, despite the name Berserker, doesn't hold grimace on his face. He doesn't hold anger or frustration. It's grief, it's sorrow, it's loss, which is only compounded more by the events that have just occurred with Kreg. Because even though they weren't super close, he was there throughout this entire thing. You know, and Mal, with his background and how he grew up and just where he came from, family isn't always just blood, it's who's there for you when you need one. And in his own way, Kreg had started to become like family. And so there's much like Branwen, it's just crying. Not wailing, just silent tears as whatever hit, whatever damage, whatever tentacles are latching at him, he's not reacting to it. He's numb to it. He just wants to put whatever this is away.
Roll to kick some ass.
So he's just swinging his bat. I'm gonna make that a luck.
Okay. So your brother has been like tearing at your body. You've been taking every hit as he's latching at you, clawing at you. You know you have open wounds all over you. You know you have bruised internal bleeding. You are covered in wounds, but you take it and you keep dealing damage back and forth and back and forth and back and forth with him. How do you end your brother?
I think at one point, it's minutes feel like hours, feel like days, and it's this constant back and forth. At one point, Ben, or whatever this shadow of Ben is, has dealt a decisive blow to Mal by kind of ramming a tentacle through him at very close proximity. Mal kind of holds him close. Ben is always better than you and me. I'm gonna take out my pistol and I'm gonna shoot him point blank under the chin.
Okay. And you see the part of him that was not infected was basically from the neck up. You know, like bits of him were covered in this infection. And you fire the round and it goes through, and you see a moment of recognition for just a second. As he realizes who's in front of him. He realizes, not whatever was fighting you just now. And there's just a soft smile.
So sorry.
There's no words. But you know he knows. As the eyes go blank in the body just goes and collapses to the ground.
Something else you notice is the hole freezes a little bit, as Kreg had enchanted your bullets earlier in the campaign to help do frost damage.
I think as Mal slowly succumbs to remorse and falls to his knees, kind of lets out a small chuckle through guttural, blood-filled mouth. It's like, fucking sweet.
Can you roll me a d6? This d6 is going to be how much harm you received during the battle with your brother.
It's 1d6.
He's only at 2.
So, what are you at?
4, which puts me into the
Unstable.
Yeah, unstable. Yeah, you feel immediately as the adrenaline of this fight, the feelings and everything kind of begin to hit you. That numbness you were feeling fades, and you feel 1,000 cuts. You feel that gaping, sucking chest wound that you have, and you just fall to your knees as you're not in great shape. And now to two of you. So the two of you seeing this happening around you, you focusing on the drowned king and your mother, you up front with all of this chaos happening in front of you, you just happen to look back and you see over the edge of the maw an army of countless infected rolling over the snow mounds that was placed there by Kreg, running down towards you. And you know, if you let them leave, it's the end of everything all over again. And Nico, you see your mother not looking at you, not looking at the drowned king. You see her look at the horde that's running down, the thousands of infected running down the hill towards you. You see her look at them, and she looks back to Els, and in this bestial growl voice, and goes, "Do your job!" And this voice reverberates across the field. Like the tone of that roar was just different, and it hits you, Els. And all of it's like a door that has always been locked. It's just swung open. And we see what looks like, or you see, within your mind, you see a laboratory. You see a glass case in front of you. as you're like looking around and you see a man with blonde hair and pointed ears coming up and looks like he's just kind of jotting down notes. You see a woman with dark skin and curly brown hair coming up, and they look like they're having a conversation. And they look frustrated as you see other tanks of beings who look just like you. As you see they're unplugging things and those basically having them carted away. You flash forward and you're in a room and the man with blonde hair is talking to you and trying to educate you, but you're not, whatever he's trying to teach you in the moment, you're not getting it. You're not getting it. And he's incredibly frustrated and he marches out of the room, and your caretaker comes into the room and she begins to try to calm you down and tell you that everything's going to be all right, that you're going to do great. You can do it. You can do it. And they're very because you have a big test today. You have the big one today that all your siblings have failed again and again and again, and you've never been able to do it yourself. And then we flash forward again, and we're in that almost dusty brown room where you take your tests, where they bring in those things, the scary things, and they tell you to stop them, and you have never been able to. And again, you fail. And as your caretaker comes over to you, you see the two workers that were taking the scary thing away lose control of it. And it comes bounding towards you and your caretaker. And in the moment, as it jumps at your caretaker from behind, the only person who has been kind to you since you've been able to remember, the only person who's taking care of you, what do you do to it? And it freezes in place. And just kind of goes to a docile nature. And we flash back to the maw, and you know now what you were made for, and what your abilities truly are. What do you do?
I think before the memory is unlocked, she sees Kreg disappear in Bronwyn's arms, and she just whispers to herself, "You broke your promise.
No one else will get.
The horde freezes. You see blood begins to run from Elle's nose, her ears, and her eyes, as this wave of psychic energy just rolls across the field, and all of the infected just stop in place. And the two of you feel this growing migraine in your head in response to this command. And you see the Drowned King also grabs his own head, as all of the hostile forces of the field have frozen and are presently under your control. But you know, on the same notion, this is more than you've ever done before. And it's taxing. Yes.
Context, please. Blonde with pointy hair, ears is the legend. Dark-skinned woman is Monroe. Did I have any idea about these experiments?
No. Just another secret your parents have kept from you.
That's not the part that he's mind boggled over, because that's normal at this point. But in this moment, I realize, especially with Monroe's command, everything they do has a reason. Drowned King is still locked in place?
He is, and now he looks like he's fighting against the command. He's stronger than the peons out in the field, but he's also being affected, as are the two of you, in the fact that you two are developing a really intense headache, not listening to what was told to you.
I look at Branwen first. You get immediate mental in any way you can. He looks at you, there's a pleading in his eyes, doesn't know what you can do, just ground me. Then I look at you. I don't know what they had, but you can stop this. I'm going to just reach out my hand and I'm going to attempt that do one thing that is beyond human limitation. You're not human to begin with, so it shouldn't be a problem. I'm going to try to ease her mind.
You're gonna try to take the stress.
Take the stress.
Like in the
So she can focus.
Okay.
And however they can help me. Well, I'm gonna make sure that she is as in control as possible.
Okay. Go ahead and roll me. Is there a roll for this?
Yeah, if I use magic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry. I want to keep that so bad. I want to keep it so bad.
6.
4.
Okay,
11.
11. So the three of you gather around Els, flanked on your left by Branwen, flanked on your right by Mal, and from behind you've got Dr.Nicolai.
Nothing. I'm literally like standing behind you, and you're short. He's trapped. I'm not worried about jumping. I think I like get on my knees and I like place my hands next to you. It's almost like not a lobotomy. That goes into a space I don't want to go, but it's very much holding the mental strain. And if I have to take damage, I will.
Okay. You feel all like the intense headache that was developing for you from strain and the blood that is rushing from your eyes, your ears, and your nose, and your mouth. It eases, and the calm sets over you. That you know what you can do, and you have the ability to do it. What do you do else?
At this point, with the tentacles freezing in place and the drowned now just idle, I think Els at first is pleading for a second, saying,
I can't control someone.
Everything is an accident until it's not. Find your ground.
So Els, because I feel like as soon as Mal's had fallen over, she kind of like fell onto the ground, and she's just going to take her hands and just like stab them into the ground, and you see these black tentacles go into the air where the lifting maw was, and it starts to press in on itself, trying to smash the core together. But before she does, she wants to try to find the survivors and free them before she does this.
Easily. It's
like little heartbeats.
You do. It's like it's the sensation of being connected to everything around you, the air, the sky, the sun, like everything around you that is connected to the infection you can sense. So you know where they are. They're presently all huddled in a chamber, probably the same chamber you all left them.
Then I think with the tentacles like swarming around and slowly encapsulating, there's just she closes her eyes and pictures the moving tentacles slowly like opening into a doorway and just having light peer in. And she says,
No one else will die.
And you see, like, it takes a moment or two, but the survivors begin to crawl out as you see this group of about 10 or so are beginning to just run, so confused, so, like, just baffled that the maw has just allowed them to get out. And they just begin to run off into the distance towards the ships.
okay, as soon as they are out, she's just going to use every last bit to just crush and dissipate, asphyxiate this infection to the planet.
So these tendrils wrap around this thing and it begins to eat itself. It begins to compress in on itself. As you see the ground around it begins to cave in more as this thing was supporting, a lot of the ground here, as it begins to crush in on itself tighter and tighter, and eventually you hear this kind of cacophonous slam as you see the ground begins to kind of cave into where the maw was. And you no longer feel the connection to any of the things that were there, save from the drowned king and these two, as you have smothered it.
Did you take any more money?
I need each of you to roll me a d6.
One is always one, or do I negate it to 0?
One is always one, Luke. Correct me if I'm wrong.
For the immortal.
Oh.
So wait, do you have any armor?
I have. Whenever I take any type of damage, I always negate it by 1.
Yeah, so that's 0.
So 0.
So it'll be 0, right?
Mal? 5.
1d6.
1d6. 1. Branwen?
5 negated by immortal, so 4.
4. Now, the connection that you felt as Nico basically brought you all in to help Els do this job. You feel it take the rest of what you had. You were already bleeding out. You have so many broken bones, you don't even know what their names are. And you see the maw corrupt itself. You see Els succeed in showing the world that she is not small, but she is mighty. And what are your last thoughts?
I think Mal had pulled himself up and was kneeling behind Els. And just slumped on her, trying to give as much support to Dr. Nicolai and to Els during this moment. Slipping in and out of consciousness, but finally just loses that grip. And as he fades and he remembers Ben and Mom, business, remembers the trip, remembers everybody, I think his last fleeting thoughts as he slips into that void is, at least it was everyone else. It always was going to be everyone else. And that's okay too.
Okay. Yes.
DM,
Hmm?
if you'll allow,
Of course.
can there be a sudden cold breeze that reasons the wounds that are bleeding out? Understand if no. I figured I would ask.
I think that's more of a decision for you.
I think in that moment, Mal, having truly felt like he gave everything after losing everything, I think there's a comfort in him knowing that they succeeded. I don't think he'll take it.
In that case, it feels like a cold hug as you pass.
What is the Drowned King doing?
The Drowned King he looks like before he was holding his head. He was fighting against it. And after this cacophony of destruction in front of him, He just looks almost catatonic. Like he just looks, he's staring between where the maw was and Els in just bewilderment, fear, disbelief. He looks defeated.
I'm going to stand up and I will say, you all have not seen Nicolai shed a single tear. I'm going to stand up. I'm a little hurt. I'm not feeling the best, but I'm not dying. I'm going to stare at the Dragon King. Mother is getting back up. 1. An experiment who has more feeling than most. Who can eat, satiate, destroy the very thing you thought you created and controlled. 2, a monstrous woman who doesn't take what society believes a monster to be and turns it into pure, unadulterated strength. That strength that we haven't even truly seen. 3, a mother and a father who have fought worlds to destroy you. And 4, me. Run or die.
You see, he holds the eye contact for a while. Run.
You have 10 seconds.
Do you let the cage go?
Yes.
Okay. You see, he just turns and takes off. And your mother turns to you and she goes, "What are you doing?"
He won't try it, Mother. He is a afterthought of power.
And you see your mother's wolven form begins to fade as she turns back into her humanoid shape.
And if he becomes a threat, we will deal with him. But in this moment, this is not the time.
Else, you feel where Mal was leaning on you, like during the kind of team moment you had, you feel the weight is just heavier. As Mal, you're still leaning now, just forehead on the back. You see he's smiling. Softly. Peacefully.
I want to try to telepathically talk to the kid. Am I able to do that?
Yeah. King's running in the opposite direction, but yeah. You can feel like you can reach out to him.
I think when I do, I reach out to him and I say,
I am being drowned. But part of me is a part of your lineage. If they take me, I'm gonna go back into a cage. There must be some reason as to why you want to save us. This is not the way to do it. Look at what ceiling you think is keeping you from the angel. Has turned into a mirror. You have become a monster yourself. But I need to know what happened to our people.
And you, because you're watching him and you're looking at, I guess, he's kind of off in the distance, you see he stops in his tracks. And his shoulders kind of slump. And he turns his head slightly to the side. And an image flashes through your mind. As you see, it's a planet of people that look just like him. Not the black oozing like monstrosities that were within the maw, but this kind of pale blue-green skinned creatures, that some have 2 arms, some have 4. They're wearing, nice clothes. They look like they're just going about their days. The buildings are these kind of weird, almost like glass, ceramic, like colored, textured buildings. Lots of spirals and shapes and things. You see ships flying about and things, and you see you're looking at the perspective of the drowned king. And you see he looks to be kind of walking through the park. He looks down, and there's a smaller blue-green skinned being that's walking along with him, and there's a more feminine blue-green skinned being walking on his left, as they look to be just walking through the park. And you see the sunshine is darkened as they look up, and there is this almost pure white light shape above them. This ship. It's massive, it's huge. And you see these wings unfold from the ship. And the memory gets hazy in the next moment as you see from every wingtip on it, you see these bright balls of yellow light as they stream down to the planet. And you see, the next memory you see is he's carrying this small blue-green figure with him through fire, destroyed buildings. And you see, as he's running around basically a corner, you see he stops dead in his tracks. As you see a pile of these blue-green bodies and this large woven shape over them. And this blonde-haired man in this gold gleaming armor with these 2 what maybe at one time were beautiful angel wings, now tattered and dirty and bloody, with a sword that looks like it's holding itself together against its own will, as the bits of the broken sword are trying to pull away from itself, as the 2 shapes turn to look at him. And you see he turns and runs away. And the next thing you see is space from the cockpit. And you see he turns to look to his right and his left, and the seats are empty. And the next thing you see is him working in his laboratory. And then now back to the maw, and he goes, "They happened to our people. They thought we were hiding something. We weren't. They shot first, asked questions later. I don't want them to take you out. I'll make sure they don't. I can make sure all of them forget what you can do and who you are. Not necessarily who you are as a person, but what you can do and where you came from. So they never come for you."
No. Do not hurt or manipulate anyone else. Here, we have words to share. But mutating a planet for your own good will not help for others to see your perspective. You will not be tactical. They're going to torture me. So let me help you. I refuse to hurt anyone on this planet.
You want to come with me?
As long as you promise not to hurt anyone else on Novum.
Yeah, I wanna use persuade first.
Yeah, do it. Roll for it.
Oh shit. Six, 4, 10. Minus 1, 9. Although, honestly, I just want to use luck.
Okay.
I have enough. I'm using a luck.
You hear a nod in your head, but behind you. Deal. And he extends his hand to you.
You guys are around me, aren't you?
Yeah. You would see the Drowned King is behind Els.
I feel as though he may have appeared in front of me, like kind of kneeling.
Yeah.
I feel as though
You
he's
use the luck
kinda
point, so you tell me.
tender.
Yeah. You tell me what it looks like.
He's off in the distance, stopping, and there's this scene of just two blue individuals. Just the only color on this tar mat of bedrock, tan, and black. Just these two individuals staring at each other. Not a moment of recognition, but just solidarity that we are the only different people here. And suddenly, the one in the distance disappears, and he ends up kneeling in front of me, and the others are behind me. I take my notebook, in the front rightmost pocket, drop it on the ground. No one gets out.
You.
I take his hand.
And they're gone. You know, leaving the two of you and your mother alone.
I don't turn to Branwen initially. I turn to my mother. What's just happened?
I think you got away.
And with that, what was that?
What do you mean?
There are many discussions I believe we as a family need to have. But time is of the essence, and there's something I need to do. A lot has happened in like the last
Like 2 minutes, and truly like less than 5 minutes. And your mother goes, then I will see you at home.
And so she understands this isn't a I'm disappointed.
Mm-hmm.
There's a calculation,
Mm-hmm.
and he's always been logical, so he needs to understand before he makes an emotional reaction.
Your mother walks up to you, and before she leaves, she goes, "You've done a good job."
We'll talk.
Right. And she gives you a soft kiss on the forehead. As you see, she pulls out basically the bracelet that your father has constructed for her that allows her to move places. And you see she basically reaches out her hand and opens a door that was not there and steps through, closing it behind her, leaving the two of you alone.
And she steps there. I think that's when the breath they take. Interesting concept. Because we gave it weight, we gave it a meaning, even if we don't understand its true intention. I don't know. The sins of my father, the sins of her blood, that can't be my focus at this moment. Because we have lost. But if time, like all other primordial concepts, can be controlled, then we haven't lost it. One moment. I'm going to run. Never run in this entire campaign. I'm going to run into our ship.
Okay.
I'm going to go to my room.
Okay.
I'm going to take every vial of Kreg's blood that I have. I've only used one.
Correct.
I'm going to go grab them.
Okay.
I'm going to come back to the very spot that Kreg died. I'm going to take the snow itself, start to compact it. And as I'm compacting, I'm speaking. Valerian, I think, also analytical, when he almost speaks about every action that he does to make sure there is no feedback, no mistakes. There's a total understanding. Time and our remedial sense of it, the past, the present, and the future. He starts to take these corks, these vials, these corks one by one. He's opening them. The blood representing what he was, and I'm pouring all of them into this pile of snow. The snow, what he became, what he is, this God, this deity. He looked at you. And the future, what he wanted, and what he needed. And hold your hand if you love me. We need him. Yes.
It's not going to be the same.
It may not be the same, but it won't make it less than. It won't make him less than. Change is natural. Change is all that we have. I made a promise. And there's a moment where I think the fractal elements, the walls of this world that we can't see suddenly begin to shift and weave and bend. And I think there's an image starting to form around us. And it's forming the deck of the ship at night when Kreg and I first spoke. He promised, well, he asked if I could. I didn't understand why. I think I do now. Can you help me? I'm going to use big magic. Using my last luck.
Oh, okay. Look. Yeah. I'll let you take it from here. You have the decision. You have the choice of what happens, just like I gave it to Jonathan. What does it look like? Describe.
As I was speaking in that moment, other words were being said, but one in particular. We magicians, we arcane architects, have many different words for the divine. But at the end of the day, the divine is just another form of power. My father has harnessed more power than most. And if I can make an ounce of what he can do, we'll call this what most scholars would call a simile. A life within a life, coming back to. He will have his own understanding. It will be like a marriage. And I'm almost shaping your body, like using the vials as the liquid to form the snow into a body that is Kreg laying on the ground. And it is as beautiful as a snow angel can be. Because that's what you were to us.
Wow.
Luke, I'll let you take it from here.
You push this magic into the snow using the leftover vials of Kreg's blood that still have that faint aura of divinity that you would now recognize. And suddenly, what has been like summer, the snow that kept the maw pinned down and shattered all of the tentacles suddenly just blows gently, slowly blowing across the bedrock of this area and just starts to whip up and lands just ever so softly onto the form that you've made.
And I just want to say, as it's starting to whip up, because he doesn't know magic is interesting, but he's trying to control it as best as he can, using his own divine strength, that magic and arcane, that the arcane and divine coming into one. And I look at Branwen, still squeezing your hand. Truthfully, I don't know if I get to have an ending of this, because of who I am and who I am connected to. But you will have yours.
With your permission. There is this blanket of snow that whips up around you, and you can feel what's like two hands. You can't see anything particular, but just you're starting to get blinded by this snow. You suddenly feel lips touch yours. Oh! And there's, as you breathe, that is taken out. And this blanket suddenly falls from around you to right on top of the form you've made, and it just kind of, it splashes up, and you're all showered in this beautiful, ethereal snowfall. And on the ground is Kreg.
I told you. I was going to come. I bring Branwen's hand, and there's a triad.
Yeah.
What's the problem? The two of you notice the tattoo's not on his neck.
Is he human?
He feels warm. You feel blood pumping through his hands.
It's not the same.
It's never meant to be. And the other hand just reaches up and grabs your face.
I'm going to be human. Well, I think you can sense his apprehension, and not like I don't want to be here, but it's like a.
Yeah. As I'm still just kind of on the ground.
I'm just gonna just frackly make some underwear on you.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, did you also with the snow? How did you? You know what? Keep having a moment. Have a moment. That's the behind the scenes of that.
So while the three of you are sitting there together, and the realization that the job has been done, you stopped the infected from getting out. You discovered the mystery within the moth. A sick realization washes over the two of you. As you feel it first. His infection has pushed quite far. And the realization hits the two of you that you need to decide what you're going to do with who you're becoming and what you're becoming. Whether you decide to take it back to civilization and hope you can control it, whether you decide to attempt to find a cure, you don't know, but that realization sets in that you three have a choice to make. And quite soon.
Not about the future. It's not about that. It's about truth. You all need to make sure you get to where you need to go. Off of this lawless place. I am going to return to my father. There's one person in Novum who could figure out what is happening. It is him. And you need not worry. I already lost a brother in him. He's already lost his son. He won't lose me.
And really quick, I'm going to pause this moment for a slight second. As else, you find yourself after you vanished from the battlefield. You find yourself in the hull of a ship, very similar to the one that you all escaped in. And you see the Drowned King begins to kind of flip switches and things, and he kind of looks over his shoulder and he goes, "We have several backups in case." And you see he begins to turn the ship on, and then he stops. And he goes, "What about your friends? The ones who carry the infection as well."
They were never good at teaching me how to control it. They assumed it was natural. I want to take my friends with me, so that they don't have the same torture that I was going to go through. But could you teach me to send back?
The unfortunate thing is that they are like us, but also not. In the sense that they are whatever your friends did to become like that. It's a different species. So we may have influence, but as far as total control, I do not know if we will be able to, but what we can do is provide them space to learn how to control it themselves. Because they can't infect us. It's a possibility.
I only assume that however long that you have been wanting to seek revenge, it has been quite long. One of the infected is a part of your enemy. Would you extend that kindness?
That enemy has brought me one of my own kind that I didn't think I would ever find. So I think the least I can do is extend the kindness of my knowledge and my abilities.
I remember what they called me. Mutant 14EL. I don't know what came of my brothers and sisters, but that's what I focus. Allow me to reach out. Help me learn. And I want to protect my friends so they do not become deep-coded and named by me.
He extends his hand.
How do I?
Think of who you want to speak to. And just talk.
So Dr. Nicolai and Branwen are still connected, so they hear it together.
This voice would then arrive where we paused for a moment.
And I think in this moment, you just hear the words,
Trust me. Come with me.
What is Branwen thinking?
That's a great question.
Well, that's 5 minutes is a lot. Els. Someone has to get them back. People we were here to save, someone has to get them back.
okay, that's a captain.
And someone has to have your research. You left this book here for a reason. Someone needs to know what happened here. I can't come with you. And I don't think Nico can either. But I'm not. I won't tell anyone about you for as long as I live. That is the one secret I will keep until the end of my days. But we can't go.
You also hear after that. What my father has done to yours. It is not that every story has two sides. And it is not a dismissal of what has happened, what transpired. But we are not them or their trauma. We care. We hope. We love. And I'm sorry. I will personally ensure that this experimentation, this augmentation, whatever they have tried to do to control what your lineage owns, that will cease. I will personally ensure that any research, anything they have to attempt to start this again is eradicated from existence. And I will make sure that my father does not come for you. But I also cannot go. My father would not let me.
You have always been greater than your father.
I know. But we have someone we are looking for. And I'm sorry that that search caused pain. But now we must continue that search.
I guess you guys would both hear it, but this message is directed for Branwen. With the resurgence of my memories, I tell you,
Don't trust my heart.
You get a memory of a burning house and a little girl sitting outside crying as she watches this house burn to the ground. And behind her walks up an oddly familiar iconic form. And this form puts this hand on the child's shoulders and says, "Come with me." Alice, I know relationships can change. I've seen it this entire time. Change in how I feel about you, how I felt about Miles, how I feel about Kreg, how I feel about Nico. It's also changed how I feel about my father.
I think you just get, if possible, a wave of understanding. Almost like a warmth from the forehead, as though she is pressing her head to yours, both of you, as a form of acknowledgement that she accepts the answers and trusts your decision. There is a hint of sadness. Back on wherever we are, I think I just relinquish my hands and just begin to tear up. And I think she just kind of goes into a fetal position and just doesn't say anything to the Giant King. Just relinquishes control of where he wants to go. Yeah.
Well, with all our might, our power, in the end, truly we cannot control other people's choices and their decisions.
Now you're
It's ironic, I understand, coming from me. But we have the greatest research project ahead of us. Lots of things changed after the drowning for everywhere around you. So, do what you need to do. But we're heading into the stars. And maybe we'll be back. And he just goes to take the seat in the cockpit.
When we get back to,
We're back.
I look at Branwen. There's a clear feeling of looking at a door that needs to open and just take your hand and squeeze it once. I'm not saying this is the end, but clearly connection. One that I didn't expect. Whatever happens after this, I would like to thank you. Your strength and your will and your groundedness. That has been an anchor and a gift and a blessing. At least until Father does whatever he needs to do, which might truthfully include containment, experimentation, to make sure I don't succumb. Until that happens, you know what. Look at Kreg. You have a life infected. I know that means your power is also gone. I hope that the weight of this world, those who believed in you, I hope that now you can finally breathe. As you haven't been doing this entire time. And while, for a moment, I hoped that there would be a kindred connection. I'm not saying that it's gone, I'm saying the power between you and her. Stronger than you think. Cherish your life and drink and eat and be merry. I don't not really the things I do. You also know what if. And as I'm speaking, you start to see the bottom of my feet, starting at my feet, begin to glitch and fractal, start to disappear. As I'm attempting to use magic to teleport back.
You would have also the same bracelet your mother does.
Yeah.
That your father has made to allow you to allow you to. You've really been able to leave at any time.
Been able to leave it.
That's hilarious.
Wow.
And he kept it secret.
But Yes, but I anticipate. Yes. Yeah, I guess reach out to your hands one last time. And it kisses each of your hands. There's like a slight little, like a numbing sensation. It's not cold, but it's like being gay.
Yeah.
Or it's like, you know, it's like that.
When your arm falls asleep.
Yeah, the prickly. Yeah.
Static.
TV static.
And as I'm leaving, probably like twist chest up. He's going to look down. Sorry. Gonna look down to where I'm a little bit of his blood is going to and go.
Okay. And he's gone, leaving the two of you.
It ain't over.
The survivors you see have begun to file on the ship. You see the captain is at the edge of the ramp holding a rib. He looks like bandaged and bloody, like he was engaged in some sort of fight at some point, but he is waving the survivors onto the ship. What do the two of you do?
I hold your forehead to mine. Then I look down at Mal's body. And I slowly change back into my bestial form again. And I gently, as gently as I can, scoop up.
It's like,
You can eat it. Just a little blocking. Like Peter Griffin in the Frog.
As gently as I can, I take Mal's body into my arms and I cradle him as his lifeless form falls, limply in my embrace. And I look at you and say, to a new future.
I'm just glad we have one.
And I'm gonna kiss you.
As this kiss is shared, the camera begins to pull back.
Oh.
Oh, really? Does it now?
As time passes, and I just need to ask you two a question. Do you return to the core with your findings? The captain, once you get on board, is basically willing to take whatever order you give. Do you head back to the core?
I've been alive for a very long time.
Yeah, we gotta talk about that.
I know places that you can go. If you wish. Or we can hide.
I'm gonna take Elle's book. Flip through it. And Branwen's gonna write a message. I'm going to hand it to the captain. She's going to say, "You make sure this gets to Grandma Pickle."
Of course. Of course. His voice. But he says, of course, anything.
And you make sure the final page gets to Ivar.
All right. It will be done.
She gives him the book, and she finds is there an infirmary on the ship?
Yeah.
She lays Mal's body down in the infirmary, rests him as peaceful as he can be, And she takes one hand on his heart. And you see one singular magic pulse just go quietly. And Nico, you'll feel that blood that you took. It changes just slightly. Just ever so slightly. And she looks at Mel and she says, I don't know what he has planned for you. But I can't believe you're gone. So if you can, if you have it in you, come back. Because one day, I believe that we can all be together again. And she leaves this room and meets up with Kreg.
He takes both of your hands.
Shall we go?
Yeah.
I do think snowflakes start to form. And wrap around both of us. And we just disappear.
The camera pulls away from the ship as it goes to return to the core. The survivors are offloaded of the ship. You know, immediately medics are running up to them. People are checking on them and stuff. And the captain, we see him, you know, kind of march off the ship. And he first basically stops in the hallway, and we see him kind of tear the last page of the notebook out. We see him fold it, put it in his jacket. We see him walk down the hall and open the door to Grandma Pickle's office. We don't hear what they say, but you see the captain removes his hat. And you see tears begin to well in Grandma Pickle's eyes. And the captain kneels down and hands her the journal. And she just holds it to her chest. And the camera swings away from that moment, goes down the hall and follows Captain to Ivar's office. He opens the door. Ivar's working at his desk. And the captain pulls the last page from his jacket and hands it to Ivar. And Ivar snatches it from his hand and opens it. What does it say, Sydney?
It says, Grandma Pickle has all the information that you've been seeking. I love you. And I always will. But this journey was too much for me to come back to any life that I had before. I'll leave you with this because I love you. I know about the angel and the wolf, and I won't tell a soul. And whatever you did, you were always good to me. And I will never hate you for it, as long as I live.
He folds the paper down. And we just faintly see like a single solitary tear that he wipes away immediately as he looks at the piece of paper, opens up his lockbox, puts it in there, and shuts it. And when he shuts it, any sign of sorrow on his face vanishes as he locks it. And he goes, "Bring in my new student." But with just this distaste. Yeah. And the camera pulls away from the cord, pulls back, and pulls into this space of complete darkness. Absence of light seems to go on forever. And Mal, you were in a frozen wasteland, doing battle against monsters and demons and fighting your brother. And then now you're here, in complete darkness. And you feel a hand on your shoulder as you see this being before you, their body completely white. They have a bit of like this gold crown peeling up from their face. These long white robes, white and black robes coming down, and they kneel down to you. They go, "So, normally you would pass on to wherever you were supposed to go. But the doors are shut. The pathways are closed. But we're working on a way out." As he turns to his right, and a girl with lavender hair and two long braids walks up and goes, "Hi, I'm Nathira. We're gonna get out of here together."
Where is he here? Where's Kreg? Where's Ben?
Well, they're back on the, land of the living, I suppose. And we're in between.
In between what?
There and everywhere else. We'll find the door. Fringe here's really good at it. She looks up at him.
Nathira, was it?
Yeah.
Fringe?
Yeah.
No, Malcolm just sits down. What do you guys do to pass the time around here?
Well, I'm really good at art. She pulls out a sketchbook. My friend Rally was teaching me.
No? So we figure out where we're going. I'd love to see some of her.
Okay. And the camera pans away. And then we pan up into the stars. As it's been a few weeks that the two of you have been traveling through space. And the Drowned King's sitting at basically a terminal, and he goes, "Well, we've got a couple of planets we can look at. What are you feeling? Do you want Desolate Wasteland? This one looks extremely hostile. And then there's... This one seems to be just a large conglomeration of crystals. You want to go for the shiny one? Alright. Well, let's go for the shiny ones. And as the ship lands, and you find your way kind of through this place built of crystalline structures. It's multicolored, as there's all these different, almost like rainbow of colors. And a man steps out from behind some of the crystals. And he's in a long robe, covered in multicolored eyes and different, like, he's got, like, you see palettes of paint all around him. And he goes, I wasn't expecting company. How did you guys even get here?
Does Els know this person?
Roll me investigate a mystery.
8 plus 2, 10.
There were rumors 400 years ago. A file you found that was just a piece. It looks like the rest of it was burned, shredded. Of a team of core members that were sent into the Deadlands to investigate, essentially, these crystalline meteors that fell to Earth, or fell to Novum. And they were all marked as killed in action. And this person bears a resemblance to the team member, Tech. Oh yeah, I found something cool out here. You guys are gonna love it. As the camera pans away and pans down into what looks like the basement of a castle. And Nicolai, you return home. And as you arrive home, immediately this barrier appears around you. And you feel your connection to the weave and magic vanish. As your father is standing on the outside of this barrier, looking at you. And he goes, "Well, how did it go? Your mother tells me you had quite an interesting adventure."
It went. I've learned a lot. I was looking down for a moment, but at that, I look up at him. I have some theories.
Good. Because we have work to do. As you see, he gestures to a board. And on this chalkboard, it looks to be the incantation of a spell to summon beings from other planes of existence. And he goes, "I think I finally found the way to draw it out. We're going to make heroes of our own." And the camera pans away one last time. Where do we find the two of you?
Kreg spent a lot of his time after the drowning happened alone, trying desperately to reconnect to the outer planes, to get a connection back. He had a lot of places to try and hide, as it became a lot harder to get around being disconnected. And we're just hidden away in this beautiful mountaintop with green trees all around. There's some snow-capped peaks in the background, but there's just a small cabin that is immaculate. A little overgrown. It's been a while since he's been there. But he opens the door to walk into this very quaint place. All he says is, "We're going to get this out of you. And you will have a future as well."
excited to know something else in my life besides violence and fighting. And I am so ready to just be here with you.
Kreg pulls you in, just an incredibly tight hug, and kisses the top of your head. And I guess
The connection to the weave is gone. But there's a power that no one understands yet. So in that hug, you get a final thought. It has you go.
That is where we are going to end our story.
I was doing fine until you said that. This is where end our story.
Thank you all so much for telling this beautiful story and for trusting me and for watching. I'm very proud of the story and I'm proud of all of you.
Thank you, Alan.
And officially, none of us really died because you're fine.
Thank you for breaking us.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Alan.
I hope you are very satisfied with all of us rushing to the Discord and being like, who is this? Who is this?
I know this person. Some people are like, wait.
Thank you all so much for following our story at home. We hope you've enjoyed. I have been Alec the Bard, your game master. Let's go around the table, give your final send-off.
Oh,
Did you have to add title to that?
that's rude. Okay. I am Omega CriticalBard, and I have been Dr.Nicolai Rezana. Now, the next experiment to be potentially a solution to a century long.
Hi, my name is Sydney. Sydney Rubino, also known as Sydney of Hightower. I have been Branwen. Thank you for being here.
I am Jackie, and I have been Elven Zinnia. I don't know what else to say. I'm broken. It's fine.
And I have been Jonathan.
You have me.
I am current in this timeline, Jonathan. Latinos Against Spooky Shit. And I am the reclaimer of my name, Malediction. Oh, no.
And I have been Luke.
What?
I am Luke. I know, gosh. I am Luke, and I have played Kreg, God of Winter.
Thank you all so much. We will see you all next time.
Bye.